Hi everybody, I'm so happy to have you on board today to sew the Polar Fleece Sweatshirt. It's oversized, it features a high collar, raglan sleeves, a button placket, a chest pocket and two side pockets, elastics at the cuffs and waist, and it is not lined. I've also made it in this other color with a small hack at the pocket area. The pockets are horizontal as you can see, and I'm going to publish a short that guides you through the steps. I find that the elastic at the cuffs and waist gives an extra vintage feel to this sweatshirt, so if it's not your thing, you can skip the encased elastic and add a fold-over elastic bias tape instead. If you're interested in sewing this style as a jacket, it's also available. I'll paste a link to the sewing tutorial in the description. So let's talk about the difficulty for a sec. This is an intermediate project because zipped pockets require a bit of dexterity. In order to maximize the successful outcome of this project, I want you to know that it went through a testing round that took 4 weeks of extra work. Thank you so much to all the testers who were so helpful and generous with their time, energy, and also their intelligence. They have helped to perfect the sewing tutorial as well as the pattern, which is why I'm going to be rather talkative throughout this project, giving advice to really prevent you from making the mistakes that we have all made. And thanks to them, I also have a gallery of the finished sweatshirts in different fabrics and in different sizes to show you. So let's talk about the fabric. Please. You'll need some thick fabric, 350 GSM at least. You don't want a nice drape at all. It's very important to start with this, or else it's just not gonna look good. It's gonna look saggy, your shoulders are gonna be peeking through, they're gonna be too well defined, and it's gonna look too big instead of oversized. So Sherpa is a great choice. One tester, Alice, she used this Sherpa fabric. It's also called teddy fur on the website, and it looks perfect. She made a size 4C or large. I just wonder what the wrong side of the fabric looks like because I have Sherpa at home right here and the wrong side looks like this. It doesn't feel good against the skin. Another wonderful example is here by Sydney from British Columbia, made in size 38 or medium. And just so you know, this isn't the easiest fabric to use. It's thick and it produces a lot of dust and little fibers are going to be flying everywhere. So it's really better if you have like an overlocker. Another great option is Polar Fleece. Mine is 100% polyester, 340 GSM. It's a really good choice, although I would have liked it just a little bit puffier. I'm going to give you the link to my fabric in the description. A third option is cotton fleece, as epitomized by Vanessa right here. Her version is so fun. Maybe find a heavier GSM. Personally, I think it doesn't look puffy enough, but I'm into a lot of puff, apparently. One tester used Blizzard fleece, Leonie right here, and I think it looks fantastic. I had never seen this type of fleece in France, so it was new for me. They have some at Joann in the US, but they're not indicating the GSM on the side, so please check before sewing. You could also take a more plushy type of fabric, maybe not puffy enough, but it's yours to judge. It still looks super cozy and there's a little bit of shine to the fabric that you might be into. And the last option of fabric would be this thick woven woolen fabric like Rosa picked. She did say that she had a hard time sewing given how thick the fabric was. But you know, if making the zipped pockets is too hard, you can just skip them, or you can sew pockets on top of the fabric, or you can make kangaroo pockets. So finding the right fabric is not an easy task, and I feel like it's never gonna be with sewing. So please take your time and don't hesitate to discard the fabric and postpone sewing until you have found what you need. For the chest pocket, the button placket, the collar, and the pocket bags, you can use any lightweight woven fabric. If you want cotton, some cretonne like this one is good. Just be aware that you'll have to iron your fabric after washing it if it's cotton because it's gonna wrinkle. Velvet can work too. Some lightweight gabardine is very good. A blend of cotton / synthetic fibers is gonna be great gabardine fabric. You can also take some 100% synthetic fibers off the outerwear back type like ripstop, nylon, polyamide. Just make sure it's lightweight and not transparent. And Kate here, she used polyester suiting fabric. I think it's also an interesting option. So how much fabric will you need? I'm giving you the fabric yardage and the cutting plans among the files that you'll get if you download the pattern. And I'm doing this for 2 fabric widths, and I'm showing them on the screen right now. But please always look at the files that you downloaded, because I might have updated them while I can't update this video without losing the views and the URL. So just, you know, the most relevant and up-to-date informations are going to be in the file. I am barely using my Overlocker during this project, and it is because I picked Polar Fleece as a fabric. This fabric doesn't fray. Of course, if your fabric frays, use your Overlocker or the zigzag stitch. Let's talk about the other supplies. You'll need interfacing. You have to stick interfacing on the wrong side of the fabric where the zippers will be sewed. And as a tester pointed out, it's a good idea to add interfacing on the button placket as well and at the center front of the collar, because by pulling on the fabric to unsnap the buttons, we might tear the fabric as time goes by. I didn't do it in my pink version, this one, but do it and be careful not to burn or shrink your fabric. We're gonna need snap buttons, 9 of them, 3 zippers, around 15 centimeters is gonna be great. Then we have flat elastic tape for the wrist and waist, and you want it to be 1.5 centimeters to 2 centimeters wide. They'll end up in the cuffs and at the waist, encased here in the hems. If you don't want this, you can also add, as I said before, fold over elastic tape. And indeed, you'll need bias tape. For the collar and the button placket, you can use either fold over elastic bias tape or regular woven cotton bias tape. But if you want to finish your cuffs and waist with bias tape, you're going to have to take it elastic, okay? Finally, you'll need some marking tools, an erasable pen or a chalk pen. A little note on sizing now. So in the pattern sheet, you'll find the measurement chart, and it's going to help you pick your size, okay? This style is oversized, and therefore it has a lot of ease. I wrote it here next to the garment measurement table. It could be that you do not want that much ease. There is one tester, for instance, whose personal measurements would have led her to pick a 4XL, but she didn't want an oversized style, so she took an XL instead. And basically, it means that instead of ending up with 48 centimeters of ease at the bust, she preferred 30 centimeters of ease, which is still a pretty good amount to be comfortable. So it is possible to do this. It's about taking your measurements and comparing them to this table here. What about this pattern for men? Well, I had 2 guys showing me how it fits on them, and I think it looks pretty good. So find your measurement in the chart and just go for it. The only thing to change might be the length. So pick a sweatshirt or a jacket of yours and copy the length, bodice length, as well as sleeve length. And don't forget the seam allowance. And finally, I made a separate video to explain how to pick your size, how to print the pattern, what's in the A0 format, which software is the most reliable to use to print your PDFs, how to stick the pages together, and so on. So if you are new to PDF sewing patterns, please go have a look. You're gonna avoid making common mistakes, and you're gonna save time and money. Thank you so much for having listened carefully to the intro. I'm trying my best to give you as many details to ensure a successful outcome to every newcomer. Let's sew. So let's have a look at the pattern. Somehow I erased some footage, so I'll start the tutorial in this bordeaux color, and then I'll switch to pink. So we have here the sleeves cut twice mirrored, the back cut on the fold, the front cut twice mirrored. The chest pocket is here in some gabardine fabric. I've stuck interfacing where the zipper will be sewed and drawn the zipper placement. We have here the button placket cut mirrored, backed with interfacing. You can see that I missed covering the seam allowance on one edge. It's not important, just cover the entire piece. The front bottom part cut on the fold. The pockets are here, 2 in the fleece, 2 in some lining. What you'll see in the upcoming pink version is that I cut all the pocket bags in a lilac lining fabric. You can do this, you can cut all these parts in lining, but I actually realized that it's better to have 1 layer of fleece in the pockets so that you don't see a contrasting color when you open them, and more importantly, it's cozier for the hands. I marked the zipper placement on the lining, on the wrong side of the fabric. Then we have the color in the fleece and woven fabrics. I've stuck into facing where we'll have the buttons. Here we have 3 zippers, 15 centimeters minimum. If they're longer, it's totally okay, you'll just cut them. Some foldover bias tape for the color. You can also take some regular woven bias tape. And here the reason why I took the blue is just because I like the color combination with the Bordeaux, but I'm gonna play it safe and pick the Bordeaux in the end. We have some flat elastic, 1.5 or 2 centimeters wide is fine for the cuffs and waist. And that's it. Let's start sewing. So we start with the side pockets to sew on the bottom front part. I lay the woven pocket bags on the fleece, right sides touching. I sew around the rectangle. I cut inside. I turn the fabric inside out. Press down. And here careful to iron on the wrong side of the fabric to avoid some fabric marking or melting. You place the zipper under the rectangle opening. Pin in place, sew by top stitching all around the rectangle edges. Now we'll make French seams for the pockets. So I lay the other pocket bag on top. The wrong side is now visible, and observe well, I turn the fabric to the other side to pin. I sew respecting 1 centimeter of seam allowance. I trim my seam allowance, you trim it like by half. It's actually important to respect 1 centimeter of seam allowance in the first place, otherwise the lower hem will overlap the pocket bag. I turn inside out. I press down. And I sew again, and here I top stitch very close to the pocket edge, but you actually want to respect the seam allowance that is bigger than what's left from trimming, so go with something like 7 millimeters. And this is the result. So you have stuck into facing where the zipper will be sewed on the woven fabric. You want to keep the paper pattern nearby and a ruler to check and transfer the pocket placement. Make sure you are orienting the front top correctly, paying attention to the grain line. I had one tester who almost made the mistake. I traced some lines to transfer the placement. I'm going to make some basting stitches all around the pocket to slightly gather it. This is a technique to hem a curve. So longest stitch length, no securing stitches. I pull the threads, and you're interested in creating slight gathering in the curve only. I press down. I also press down the lower seam allowance only. I'm going to trace the pocket opening again, and actually I'll sew it this time so it won't vanish when I press down. I cut. I fold and I press down. Add the zipper underneath. Pin and sew. I pin the pocket to the front. We want the pocket to stick out here beyond my line by 1 centimeter, so this 1 centimeter will be covered later on by the button placket. Top stitch. And that's it for the chest pocket. Moving on to the button placket. So I trace a line 1 centimeter from this line here that's indicated on the pattern. Since the part I have now before me will be on the right side of my body, I take the right side of the button placket, and normally you have stuck interfacing. I draw another line on the button placket this time, place the button placket against the line that you drew on the fleece, sew. Fold back, press down, and top stitch. Other side, draw a line 3 centimeters from the edge, check the measurement on the paper pattern, a line on the button placket 1 centimeter from the edge, pin against the first line, sew. Fold back, press down, and top stitch. Let's sew the darts.
Et jusque là. Voilà, je vais plier le ici. Et voilà, on ouvre.
Take the sleeves, take the back, connect right side stitching. Sew. And once it's done, we add the front. So after the sleeves are attached, I think it's a better idea to top stitch the sleeves than not to. It's going to give a tad more structure to the sweatshirt, and also it's going to match the other top stitching that we'll have across the bodice. So we're going to sandwich the neck hole with the high collar. It might seem like the neck hole is longer than the collar band, and if it happens, it's because the neck hole stretched. So try your best to match the notches and contain the fabric in between them. If you really can't, it's okay to measure the neck hole yourself and cut this part again if you have enough fabric, of course. The fleece will be inside. Pin the right side of the collar to the wrong side of the neck and sew in the seam allowance. Now we add the cotton fabric, right side stitching, and sew respecting 1 centimeter of seam allowance. Press down, top stitch.
Yeah,
c'est bon. Okay, the idea is now to add some elastic bias tape or simple woven bias tape if you prefer, around the collar and along the button placket. See here in my first while this area got a bit messed up. Don't hesitate to add many pins or even baste in place by hand, but first let's sew the 2 collar layers together in the seam allowance. And now the tape. You can totally do this in 2 steps. Maybe have a look at the way I did it in my other fleece tutorial, the Let It Snow fleece. It's going to help if you're not an advanced sewist. I'm going to put the link in the description. As you can notice, some parts of the tape were sewed over, so we hand stitched them. I'm saying we because I called a friend to sew while I'm filming. Now let's add the buttons, and again go back to the paper pattern for the button placement. Okay, let's take care of the bottom front part, the one with the side pockets. So I fold in half to mark the middle. Make sure you have the button plackets that's attached to the pocket in front of the other button placket. Lay right side stitching and sew. Use the overlocker. And let's stop stitch. If you want to add fold-over elastic tape at the cuffs and waist, it's way easier to do it now as the sides are open. So the first thing you do is you check if the sleeves and the bodice are at the length that you like. You trim if you don't like, and then you put the elastic around yourself to get your ideal elastic length, and don't forget the seam allowance before cutting. I'm showing the footage of my Let It Snow fleece here. Let's go back to my Polar Puff sweatshirt. So I'm closing the sides now. I'm going to sew using the overlocker. And I also finished the edges at the wrists and waist. I press down to mark the hems. The hem allowance is indicated on the pattern. I sew the hem, leaving an opening for the elastic. I take my elastic tape and I put it around my wrist to get an ideal girth. I insert my elastic. And I close the opening. Same for the waist, pick a length. Before sewing the elastic, try the sweatshirt on and adjust if need be. And then close the opening. And that's it, the sweatshirt is done. Let me show you some close-ups of the outside and of the inside. If you make it and publish it on social, use this hashtag. Thanks for watching and see you soon for some new sewing project. Until then, take care. Kiss.